You're ready for this? Yo, who's the daddy? Easy guys, Dom here from Cringy Dad Gaming. So welcome to a commentary gameplay video. Now it's been a long time since I've done one of these, probably right back from Modern Warfare 2, I think was the kind of last commentary type videos that I've done. But Tarkov is turned out to be a fantastic game. It's still in beta. If you don't know what the game's about yet, it's a rogue-like game where you go into a particular map with gear or without gear, whatever you take in with you, and if you die you lose all that gear plus items that you loot within the game. So there's going to be a certain amount of points where you could potentially extract in the map, and you've got to go in, find some gear that you can maybe use or sell, and then get out. And it is really heart pumping stuff. I've not played a game that's been this kind of like full on in terms of the adrenaline rush for a long time. You won't get this sort of rush from something like DayZ or Scum. Yeah, those games are still pretty good, but you know, I think Tarkov for me, it really is kind of up there with those real challenging hardcore games. So the way the game works, if you're not aware of it, there will be a number of players within the map. There's also a number of scavs within the map. These scavs are AI players. Don't get tricked by the fact that they're AI. They are brutal. Sometimes they will one-shot you if they get you in the right spot. So it really is pretty tense. In this particular match, I was trying to find some fuel for my generator, which is part of a base you can build within the game mechanics, and I need some fuel for a generator. Now, sometimes this fuel can be found in the dorms. Now we've spawned quite far away from the dorms, so we've got to try and make our way over there and see if we can get this fuel. This fuel might not spawn in. I've got the correct key for the dorm room that the fuel potentially can spawn in. So at this rate, we're just making our way across, maybe loot a little bit at the same time. So I'm bringing a little bit of gear into the game with me. I've got an AK-74M, I've got an AVS tactical rig that I purchased. Notice there straight away there's some gunfire going on behind us at the moment, so things like this, like the silencers and stuff like that, they can sell for quite a decent amount of money. This is the sort of stuff that we're looking for in terms of loot. Now, you may think, why have I brought rubles in with me? Well, 7,000 rubles is the cost to extract from the dorms or old road gate exit if we can get there before anyone else actually gets to that point and extracts. So if you're thinking that you're going into the dorm area and you want to get some decent loot out there, you can sometimes extract out a little bit easier than having to find one of the open extraction points that are generically chosen. Those ones are usually chosen and they're usually quite far away from where you spawn in, which is kind of part of the challenge of the game. And I really dislike this area here because there's really long lines of sight here with very little cover. I could go through the parking area, which is on the right hand side here, but you tend to find that there's usually a lot of scavs kind of spawning around in that train yard and storage areas, so the chances of them coming through there and catching you off guard is quite likely. So I tend to risk this section here by going along the wall, which limits the amount of angles that the enemies can come in from. It is actually quite relaxing sometimes when you hear gunshots coming from over in that direction, because you know that the scavs are engaging another player, which potentially means either they're not going to be interested on you, but also the enemy players in the game are not going to be interested in you either. Plus they could be getting killed off, which is another good thing. There's less risks. Enemy players are going to be the biggest thing you've got to watch out for in this game. I tend to find that they do, well, I say they do, this is going to be you guys that are also playing the game, but a lot of them will camp the extraction points. I've found that a few times, which adds an extra bit of risk to the game as well, but sometimes they can catch you out. You've got to be really careful. I tend to start trying to use slightly different routes to what I normally would, because I find sometimes doing what people would normally do, and that's kind of stick to the edges of the map, is what everyone else is going to do. You do come across a lot of PvP that way. I tend to try and mix it up a little bit if I can. However, you still want to try and avoid those main areas. In this instance, I want to get to the dorms. I want to loot some stuff there. I don't want to PvP. I'm not coming into this particular match to PvP. I'm literally searching for items that I can use. Plus, also, if you're new to the game, you'll probably find it a little bit daunting, the fact that you've probably got very little gear and probably struggling. In that instance, I would recommend just trying to be very stealthy, try and maybe loot some dead bodies you may find and see if they've got any decent gear on them. You can actually go into the flea market in the trading section of the game and sell some of this stuff, which then means that you can buy some better armor and weapons, which will actually help you then get ahead in the game. I've seen a lot of people running around in the game with just a pistol or even their melee weapon. These guys just usually get wiped out relatively quick, and at the beginning of the game when you first start, it might seem like a good idea because you're not going to lose any gear, but to be honest with you, you're just slowing yourself down really. You may, out of 10 games, maybe be lucky enough to extract maybe half or maybe less than half of that with any gear, because you're going to get caught at some point either by a scav or by another player, and they're just going to shoot you dead pretty easy with no armor. So I'd recommend at least having some decent head armor. Try and get some armor that's got a face visor on it to protect your face, because the amount of times I've been one shot in the face by someone when I've had a helmet and decent body armor on, and that visor sometimes can be the difference between living or dying. Also, notice here that I'm kind of crawling through the grass a little bit. This is going to be less noisy than if I was just to walk through the bushes. So you hear this guy here running. Now this guy could be an AI scav, or it could be another player playing as a scav. At this point, there's not really sure, but I could see the guy here who's trying to line up a shot on me because he was using a one-shot rifle. We managed to take him out. Now this point is quite risky because we could be drawing from that noise other players and other enemy scavs, so we've got to be quite quick. Just make sure you reload first, and we're just going to search this guy and just have a look and see if he's got anything on him worth taking at this point. I usually try and crawl inside the body a little bit. If someone runs past, they may not necessarily notice that you're actually there. So he's got a VPO rifle, again something that I wouldn't necessarily use myself, but we could sell and get a little bit of cash for that in the trading market. Things like clothing items and stuff like that, you can sell pretty much everything. And the knives you can trade either for certain items with traders by swapping them, or literally just by selling them. So I'll always tend to pick up most stuff, and then if I come across anything better while I'm scavenging, I'll just get rid of the stuff that I don't necessarily need. You can just discard it. Now a lot of scavs do spawn around this area, because just up on the top of this road here is one of the spawn points for the scavs. So again, got to be really careful here. Once you get to know the map and the spawn points, it can make it really a lot more playable than if you don't. I also like how the movement system gives you the option to be able to change the speed and the sound that you make. So the slower you move, the less sound you're going to make. And I was trying to sneakily crawl up the hill here, but it just don't want to work. Got a little bit stuck. So this is the bit, as you can see, there's already a dead person in the road. It's not a good spot to be. Here's quite dangerous, but we need to get across this road to be able to get to the dorms. So just keep an eye out. I always tend to spend a little moment just kind of surveying the area. Let's see, we've got two guys moving along the road. They could be AI scavs, they could be players in a group, because people can group up in this game. This guy's just spotted me. They will spot you from quite a good distance, scavs. I'm getting some good shots down range here on this guy, but he must have some form of armor on him. Second guy behind him, we just want to suppress him a little bit as well. So that guy's gone down. The other guy, he's off somewhere. It's always good to check your magazines as well, like that, by pressing Alt and T. Gives you the option to be able to check how much ammo you got left in your mag. I would always try and reload at every opportunity. You'll be surprised the amount of times I've been caught out by running out of ammo. If you can count your shots, which is a good way to do it, then yeah, but not everyone would count your shots as you're shooting, so that can sometimes be a little difficult. But that is a decent piece of advice that I would use you if a decent piece of advice I would share with you, even if you kind of want to be really tactical in the game, and that's count your shots so you pretty much know when you're nearly low. Although if you're going full auto, that would be really difficult. I guess it's only if you're using semi-auto. So that guy over there, he may have been an AI scav. He doesn't want to come up this way now because I've hidden, I think. He's probably decided to go on a different route. Gives us a chance to have a quick look on this dead body. It's on the floor. If he was an online player, his dog tag's already gone. What we're going to do is we're going to take his backpack. The thing is, I've insured some of this stuff, which means this backpack I got here, if I just discard that and no one else collects it by the end of the raid, I will actually get that back. So it means we can take this slightly bigger scav backpack with a little bit more room in it than the one I had. And then hopefully also get back that one at a later time. Which is quite handy as well if you've got stuff that, you know, like the magazines that I've got in my inventory right now. Sometimes you'll find that you just want to use those magazine slots. So if your magazines are empty, you can literally discard them. The chances of anyone finding those magazines in part of this map or in the grass or wherever you are is relatively slim. So you can discard the magazines that are empty that you don't think you're going to need, and then get them back at a later time with the insurance, freeing up some inventory slots for loot. So again, another quite dangerous area with online players and also AI coming from the dorm. Now we're really close to the dorms here. There is a little camp there on the left hand side and there is a box that you can loot, but I find that sometimes can be really risky. The time it takes you to loot it and the fact that people will kind of camp this area. So exfil on dorms there you can see is red. Now sometimes that means an instant extraction in some instances. At least that's what I've seen online. It just means you haven't got the countdown timer to count you out. I can't hear the vehicle there though, which means it's likely to have been gone, but we will check the extraction in a little while. Little shop here. It's worth checking the cash register for rubles. I thought I saw some movement there. I don't know if there's someone hiding behind that. Oh, this is a real dangerous spot in the game where it starts getting really tense here. Yeah, so we've got some cash in the tills. Good. Love that. So at this point, I was thinking we're just going to check to see what ammo we've got in the rifle we picked up, just in case we can use that. If we get in a point where we're in a 1v1 and we need to reload, it might be quicker to switch to the rifle. It's got FMJ full metal jacket rounds in it as well, which is pretty good for armor penetration. So check your magazines as well to make sure you've got a decent amount of ammo. And also one thing I'd recommend to you guys as well is check that your weapons are definitely on full auto. As a beginner, you can kind of pretty much get stuck with the fact that you're in a firefight and it's semi-auto. So by the sounds of it, we've got an enemy literally right in those bushes there, quite close. We're not going to engage again because at this point I'm not in for PvP, we're in for loot. So we're going to try and avoid them, let them continue with their firefight that they're in. Running is a real risk in this game. It does make a lot of noise within a certain area. If people are wearing any of these ear protectors, it also allows them to hear you easier as well. Alright, so we've got a key for one of these locked doors in here. We're going to go and check to see if we've got any loot in here. Room 104. Now you will come across keys in the game. You will find them maybe on dead scavs, or when you're playing as a scav you might have a key in your inventory, you might be able to extract with it. I find quite a lot of keys searching coats that are hung up on walls and things like that. Nothing in the toolbox, it's a little bit frustrating, but we'll check the coats on the wall and see what's in here. Now, I did hear someone running around here at this point. They must have been running through into a different direction. Always keep an eye out for people running outside the windows. They can see you through the windows, so you don't want to get caught out. Hot rod, energy drink. Nothing in the other jacket. It was a little bit frustrating there. Sometimes you get some decent loot in here, but we've got another room down the end there, which is where the fuel hopefully will be if we can find it. If it says breach, then you've not got the key for it. Now, all sorts of items spawn in these rooms, so it's always worth kind of checking them just in case there's anything in there. Sometimes things are on the floor, just left scattered around in the rubbish, so it's always worth checking. And also just checking that the room's clear as well. You don't want anyone coming out behind you and shooting you in the back. Sometimes there's coats hanging up as well in some of these wardrobes. They are pretty much all the same, but it's still hard for me to remember exactly what rooms have got what in them. This is something that you get over time. Yeah, another little trick, close doors behind you if you can. Sometimes it gives you the option to be able to hear people coming in if they're coming in behind you. Yeah, just here we found a couple of decent things. Lunch boxes, they will sell for a decent amount, and we just found beard oil there as well, which is pretty rare, so that's always good to find some beard oil. It is actually from a content creator, so Deadly Slob's beard oil there that we found, which is really rare. And those lunch boxes, they can sell for around 50,000 rubles on the flea market, so it's always good to find some decent stuff. Now, this is the room that we've managed to get a key for. Sometimes you can find fuel in here, so it's a good room. Closing those locked doors behind you also means that if someone else comes behind you, they haven't got the key for it, they won't be able to get in. But here we found a decent amount of cash. I think it was probably over about 5,000 rubles that we ended up getting from this area here, which is pretty decent. We also found a GP coin, which is worth anything from around 27,000 rubles up. Can also be used for one of the traders as well for some weapons. So it was actually a decent haul from this safe here. So pretty happy with that. I think we ended up extracting with over about 9,600 rubles, which is pretty decent. And that beard oil, by the way, if you want to sell that, that's anywhere from 55,000 rubles up as well. I tend to keep the rare stuff. I don't always sell it straight away unless I'm really strapped for cash. So, but you know, you guys can do what you want at the end of the day when it comes to if you want to sell stuff or not. Now, the fact that there's no scavs in this area right now means that they're not spawning here, which will actually give us a bit of freedom to loot. Did hear some gunshots out here, so I'm just having a quick peek and see if I can see anyone out the back there. Now, if you're lucky, sometimes this guy can have fuel on him as well. In this instance, he didn't. Damaged HDD can be used for trading again, and amongst these other things, bolts and things like that are also handy things to trade. A distant sound of gunshots, so it's quite a bit of PvP or PvE going on. We found a few decent things in this room as well. It's good to search as much as you can. We found a decent car first aid kit, which is pretty nice as well. They're handy to have. More rubles, it's always good. Keys, we didn't have the checkpoint key, so this is for the checkpoint, which allows you slightly easier access to get to the Scalf Checkpoint, which is one of the extraction points that sometimes comes up. Sometimes that can give you a little bit of a shortcut, so it's always good to try and keep some of these keys on you if you can. Just thought while we were up here we might as well have a good search through upstairs. Well, there's not much going on here at this stage. More coats hanging up here for us to search. So when it's quiet like this, it is a little nerve-wracking because, you know, it's maybe a little too quiet. Is it the calm before the storm? That's, you know, really something that's always on your mind when, or at least when I'm in these areas looting. Is there going to be someone hiding in a corner somewhere? Yeah, there is some cases in some of these rooms as well, so it's always good. Weapon parts like this, they can also sell. If you really want to put the effort in though, and you want to kind of, I guess, upgrade your weapons to make them a little bit better in terms of things like their recoil and their ergonomics, how well you can, you know, use the weapons themselves, then you can put the effort in if you want. If not, you can sell them and make some cash. So we're pretty much full of loot at this stage. We found another lunchbox, and again, we want to keep these lunchboxes. They're going to be way more valuable than that knife I had. So we're going to get rid of the knife. It's just figuring out what to keep, what not, and sometimes when you're under pressure to try and get out quick, it's not always you know, clear. And some ammo can be quite rare and quite valuable as well, so I always tend to try and make sure I'm picking up ammo if there's a decent amount. But hey, we found an AK S74U, which is way better than that rifle. We're going to take that. We want to keep the muzzle brake as well, because the muzzle brake is going to be more valuable than some of these other items. That was just a Glock sight, so we can get rid of that. We don't need that. So we've still got gunfire in this area. Now, because we're pretty much full of loot here, I just think, you know what, we should try and maybe extract here at this stage. It's getting a bit hot. This is the moment where you now got all that loot, and if we get shot and killed now, we're either going to lose it or another player's going to get it. So this is now where the tension really builds. I tend to crawl and go prone quite a lot in this game. It works pretty well if you're not in too much of a rush. For going through bushes, they can make quite a lot of noise if you catch them at the wrong angle. But the dorm exit has been used by someone already. It's gone, it's closed. So the nearest one now that we're going to probably try is going to be the ZB1011, which is actually the open extraction point that's open to everyone. That is relatively risky because this is where people sometimes camp them, so it's all a little too quiet. I mean, it could be sometimes at this stage that all the online players that were in the game are all dead, but throughout the game you will get other people spawning in as scavs, so that will be pretty much constant right up to the end of the game. So the chance of a scav being in here, it's not an AI controlled scav, is relatively high. So even though it's all quiet, we've still got to be relatively careful. I want to get out with this loot, I don't want to lose it. We've got a lot of money's worth of loot on us at this stage. Yeah, there's a guy down here. He looks like he could be a scav, but I'm not going to engage him at this point because, yeah, I get XP off him. He might have a couple of things on him, but it's not worth giving my position away at this stage. We just want to try and get to this extraction point, get all this gear up. Now, some people will come into these matches just wanting to PvP, and they'll just bring in basic gear, and then they're not bothered if they die. But when you're relatively new in the game like me, I mean, I'm only like level 13. I'm trying to kind of establish myself in the game. I want to get a little bit of a money pot together, be able to buy things with the traders. Then I'm able to buy better gear, you know, either with them or in the flea market. So getting that cash is really, really important in this game. This is quite a hot spot here for campers, waiting for people to try and come through these areas, so I'm quite twitchy here at this stage. Now, usually I would go right round the left side there against the wall, but I've noticed there's been way more people. I've hit a few encounters there with players where they're going around the same way, so I tend to try and sometimes mix it up a little and go a slightly different way at this point. And just through the fence there is the gas station. That is actually quite a hot spot as well for scavs spawning in around that sort of area, and you do get a lot of PvP around that area as well. So up here is a few items in boxes, and there's some first aid at the top here, and at this stage I was kind of contemplating if I should actually go up there and maybe see if there's any other decent items that have not been scavenged yet, but it's risky. Like, there might have already been taken, there could be AI scavs there, I could die, so it really is a matter of choices you make as well. If you're happy with what you've got, then try and extract. If you're willing to risk it all, not whisk it all, but risk it all, then you know you can go for it. That's the great thing about this game. It really is down to you. And certain times I've taken risks and have paid off, and there's been other times where I've taken a risk and I've ended up dying and kind of frustrated with myself that I didn't just extract with what I had. Like these train carts, there's a couple of things around that area that you can scavenge as well if they haven't already been, but so this will take us through near the Scalf Checkpoint. This is quite a hot spot as well for people camping, for people coming through the area here on this track. So again, always another spot that I'm quite nervous in. It's so quiet here. So this is the area I was talking about here. You've got a couple of boxes up here and a first aid kit or first aid box in one of the kind of like trailer type containers there, which you know, sometimes is worth checking, but I tend to find in this game this is usually where people kind of go. And I'm again just looking at my stuff here and I'm thinking, is it worth the risk? I've got a couple of decent things here that I don't really want to lose, plus also an AKS 74U as well, which is a half decent kind of SMG stroke assault rifle. So we're going to continue on, let's not risk that. I always tend to check these little bin areas around the back here, just in case there's anyone sneakily hiding around there, waiting for the timer to come down so they can extract, or camping to try and take you out. And here's the scav kind of checkpoint just down the bottom here. You sometimes get a sniper up on the kind of second floor of this little checkpoint building sometimes as well. So again, always be careful if you're coming through this area. I've also seen a few people get ambushed here too, so I tend to go up high in case there's anyone hidden around the back of these rocks. You'll be able to see them a little bit easier if they're down there. All these little nooks and crannies that are around the sides here, quite good hiding spots for people, so always on guard here. I can see a guy over here, he's going to be an AI scav. I don't think there'd be any PvP players, just literally stood there in the middle of the lawn, but again, not going to try and engage. Now, we've still got enough time at the moment, just over 5 minutes. We're not actually far from the extraction point now, but this is where you gotta really be careful. This is nerve-wracking stuff here at this stage. Now, there's a few items on some of these containers here. Notice that they've not been picked up, which could be an indication that someone's not looted this area. But there's also some stuff in this container here, this box here. It's not been searched. It's not, well, at least if it has been searched, it's been closed. But we actually get a toolkit set here. These toolkit sets, they can be used to trade with one of the traders. You may use them sometimes for, but there's like these little kind of quest stroke missions in the game where you've got to get certain things as well. So you could save these sorts of things, but set tools probably worth about 25,000 rubles upwards. So batteries is something that I wanted to collect for something else that I was doing as well. Now, the fact that it says closed there means someone's opened it already, and that means someone has been through here, so we've got to really be careful now. Really risky area here. People do like that corner, or that little doorway there. Someone down here, as you can see, he got caught out. Again, could be someone waiting for him to extract. He's quite close to the extraction point. I think maybe he was on his way there himself, which doesn't really give me much hope at this stage that there's not anyone hiding in the area. It looks like he's got a assault rifle on him. He's got a ghost mask. We're going to take that. They can discard anything we don't want at this stage. So I decided to take his AKS-74U over mine because his has got a muzzle brake on it and a mount on it. I don't know if you can see that in the picture. So that's going to be a better version than what we've got. So it would sell for more if we strip those parts off. We can sell those parts separately, but also we could potentially mount a scope on there ourselves without having to buy one, which is pretty good. Now this is where we find a propane tank. That guy must have been pretty gutted that he died with that in there, because those propane cans are worth anything from 50,000 rubles upwards if you sell them in the flea market, and you also need them for a quest as well within the game. So I'm trying to make some space for this. I'm trying my hardest not to take too long, but I'm just discarding stuff here that's not overly expensive, just to try and make a little bit of room for some of these other items. We don't really need anything else that's there. We're just checking that nothing else has been dropped that we may want to pick up in around his body. So 2 minutes left to extract. It's getting relatively close at this stage. So this little bunker type building here, this is where we need to extract. This is the ZB 1011. Is there anyone hiding here? Or are we going to be able to extract? The door's closed, which means either no one's made it or they've shut it behind them. And here, is there anyone hiding around here? No, luckily not. So there you go, guys. There's a loot and extracting from start to finish with some half decent loot and a few beginners tips in there for you new guys as well. If you'd like to see more Tarkov videos, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and also pop your comments in there if you've got any questions, anything you'd like to share. And thanks for watching.
You're ready for this? Yo, who's the daddy?